Hello malt mates, I'm Ralphie in the Whiskey Bothy, and I am bringing you review number 1107, X for extras, extra opinion, extra perspective, extra content, extra narrative, extra engagement, extra whiskey knowledge. And I don't claim to be an expert, I'm not an expert, and to be honest, when I see some experts, I'm glad I'm not an expert. I'm just an experienced, highly experienced old hack that's been at this whiskey game for quite a number of decades. Oh my goodness, how time flies. Can I give you some younger people some advice here? Please beware of time. Time is a lot more precious than you realise, because as we get older, time speeds up. It's not an illusion, it's actually a scientific fact. It's called the wibbly wobbly winding ways of time. Time is not a constant. Time slows down. Time speeds up because time is affected by gravitational forces, distance, and ether. Anyway, let's talk about whiskey for a change. I'm going to add a few drops of... No, I'm going to taste this whiskey before I do. What I'm doing here, in my last review, right, I've dropped something and I don't know what I've dropped and I don't know where it's gone. I've dropped a lid, that's what it is, I'll pick it up later. I have to cover my water to stop the spiders and cobwebs falling in. I've just reviewed a pure malt Johnnie Walker Green Label from round about 1997. I bought it at auction and I paid a reasonable amount for it, but not too much. And I remember buying these bottles back in 1997-98 in the shop. And back in the days when I was still buying Johnnie Walkers and mainstream brands, and I enjoyed it. I knew it was chill filtered, I knew it was an industrial grade presentation of whiskey, but the quality of casks and the single malt shone through in the blend. And in my opinion, Green Label was the best of the entire Johnnie Walker range, from red, black, gold, blue, and all these kind of permutations. In fact, I believe there's a black ruby version now, which is particularly sweet for the younger palate, which is being anaesthetised with the overconsumption of industrial food production, adding too much sugar to too much food too often. So I commend Diageo, the producer, for adapting to the environment. But for an old hack like myself, over-sweetened whiskies are not supposed to taste like Monster Energy drink, and therefore I would not be buying them. This is a delightful old school style of whiskey, by which I mean it's a blended malt, it's a pure malt blend, and it's got the classic malts in it. It's got Caolíla's in it, it's very self-evident. It's got Cragganmore, it's got Glenelgin. I can taste the Glenelgin. I can taste some Glenkinchie too. Or it could possibly be Linkwood. We're never 100% sure. But it's delicious. It's decent. It's thoroughly decent for a single malt whiskey drinker. However, I would not buy today's bottle and expect the same experience. For a very simple reason, malt mates. That experience is not there. And I'll tell you why. Because cask policies have changed. Grain yields have changed. The further automation and sanitisation of whiskey production at a corporate level has changed. Time changes things, and that includes Scotch whiskey. And I'm sure that there's people buying a bottle of Johnnie Walker Green Label today, and they're probably enjoying it because they're having it in Japan or in Taipei or Bombay over a big tumble of rice in a sort of reproduction gentleman's club environment with piano music playing somewhere, which is a location I find absolutely horrific. And I couldn't be there. I just could not be there. Not comfortable at all. Just not me. But it is for some folk, and good luck to them. If folk are enjoying the experience, let them enjoy it without judgment. But here in this channel, you're going to get a bad judgment. So I'm going to compare and contrast this 1997 with this bottle, which I bought far more recently in 2018. In fact, I bought 4 of these bottles. You know why? Because I could see the tide was turning in the Johnnie Walker Green Label. I could see the quality was going downhill, and I just wanted to have a few bottles in my stash for the future. And here it is. This is a more recent, but not the latest version of Johnnie Walker Green Label, because I wouldn't buy the latest version because I don't want to be disappointed. And, in my opinion, I certainly would be if I bought it. This is what, about 18 years younger than that. 18 years is a long time in the whisky world. Whole different generation of casks. You have distilleries making efficiencies and automating so they can work with fewer people, making human judgments involved in the artisanal production of the whisky. And that changes the flavour. And see, when the experts and the brand ambassadors tell you, oh, no, don't you worry, keep buying, pat on the head. You know, it's just as wonderful and authentic and amazing as it's always been. They're trying to fill your head with disingenuous nonsense. Please do not believe them. They're there to sell you stuff, whether you like it or not. And they probably don't like you, even as they're selling to you. So be aware of it, even though they're smiling. It's human nature. So we've got the recent one. I'm going to smell between the two of them first. Let's start with the recent one. Now, I opened this last week. I opened that one about 4 weeks ago. I've not added any water to this. I'm going to taste it and add some water. Absolutely sweeter. This also still gets crispiness. I'm not adding much water to this. You see, I'm not using the spoon, I'm using my dropper. So I can actually follow the individual drops of water. Both bottles are bottled at 43%. But the real damage is happening with the chill filtration, which is stripping these whiskies of texture, flavour and natural colour. And if anybody tells you that it isn't and it's harmless, you need to tell them to stop lying to you. Because that's what they're doing, malt mates. You've got to understand this. I know, it's hard to believe. Commercial businesses employ people to lie to you. On the nose now, I've added some water. The maltiness is stronger than the cask present. See with the old one. You can see the relationship immediately. You can see the familiarity and similarity of the recipe used of the combined single malts to make up this blend. But it's the casks that are changing it. It's not just the quality of those casks, it's the combination style of the casks from first fill to refill. I wouldn't be surprised if there's more ex-wine casks going into the modern green label. With the older green label, the 20th century green label compared to the 21st century green label, you're seeing this real old school quality European oak. Really good quality oak. It's the sort of... We're back in an age, by the way. And let me share something with you. Back in the days when single malt wasn't such a big deal as it is now, there was an Italian company who became independent bottlers of Scotch whisky. And one of the main companies that they bought the barrels of Scotch whisky from was Diageo in its earliest days. And that company's name was Samaroli. And Mr. Samaroli was very, very well in with the senior managers of the Scotch whisky industry. In other words, they were in the old boys club. Bless them. And so he got access to the quality of casks that nowadays independent bottlers can only dream about. And he bottled them sensitively, authentically, naturally, amazingly. And when you go to whisky auctions, if you see any genuine bottle with Samaroli on the label, I can assure you it's going to go for a high price, a very high price, because it is one of simply the most sought after names in the well-heeled, well-endowed, collectible Scotch whisky circles, along with other companies like Silver Seal and Kingsbury. There you go. You would be surprised at how much forensic knowledge the true whisky enthusiast has. Because as time goes on and our palate gets developed, and we develop our palates and we invest in that development, there comes a point, malt mates, where it starts to overdevelop and we can get obsessive, because alcohol has that psychotic effect. It doesn't just get you intoxicated. In time, it's more sophisticated than that. It stimulates the brain holistically, and the body responds and getting increasingly fine-tuning. It's like someone who's really interested in cars, and they'll hear a car coming down a track on a show day, and just listening to the engine, they'll know whether it's a Lamborghini or a Bugatti or a Ferrari or a Pinani or whatever, or a Piaggio or a Piania, whatever it is, or which generation of Mercedes it is. They just know, because they've heard so many engines over the years. Or a true art enthusiast will go into a gallery they haven't visited before, and they'll see an old masterwork up on the wall there, and they'll look at that particular shade of yellow, and they will see how unique it is, how singularly customised on the artist's mixing palette. They'll pick out that shade of yellow. The rest of us, we don't even spot it. We haven't a clue. We don't know the difference between the sound of the engines and cars and show days. The difference, the tonal, ambient, subtle, slight, ethereal differences in shades of individual colours and a palette and a canvas. We don't see that. But see, with whisky, you start to tune in on it. Inevitably, invariably, over time, this is what happens. And so here we are. Two from the same family. But just like real families, different generations brings out different characteristics. With a 1997, I'll call it 1996, and this is 2016. Just puts a clear 20 years between them. Crisp, complex, amazing oak, ultra engaged, homogenized blending. So much harder to separate the single malts involved here. Clean, crisp, and absolutely delicious, despite the adulteration of it by chill filtration and the addition of industrial chemical colouring. Here, with the newer one, it's different, but it still has its own qualities. It's different. This is different. 2016 is different to 2026. You can take my word on that, or else you can find out for yourself. It won't cost you too much to find out, and you'll certainly learn a lot about whisky. This sweeter, more aromatic, less quality of oak contribution. Tastes slightly younger. This is an old 15-year-old. This is a young 15-year-old. I'm noticing even now, despite the substance of the single malts, which is still at that stage intact, noticing that little aspartame note that I pick up in modern Johnnie Walkers, in fact modern Diageos. And I have my own opinions about it, and I'm not going to share you because I don't want to receive a lawyer's letter. It's just an opinion, only an opinion. But unfortunately, I think when it comes to the industrialisation to enable the economies of scale, there comes a time when a business has gone too far and they're losing sales and losing ground with their product even after it's discounted. And this is the old generation where that quality was just enough that you could taste it and experience it. Both different, but both good in their own way. The arrival, the development is cleaner than this. This is slightly more fudgy. But this is clean, fresh in the palate. There's no acrid aftertaste. There's no overcharged cask influence that's actually deadening the flavour of the whisky itself. The sweetness turns fruity, fruitier than this. This is more cask influenced, more oak dominated, but really good quality oak. This less so, distinctively less so. In fact, the more time you spend between them, the more you see the differences, and the more these differences provide an explanation as to the way the Johnnie Walker range is going and where it's going to be in the future if they don't do something about it. I think that's really all I have to say, Malt Mates. I hope you've enjoyed this review. It's a little bit unusual. It's a little bit different. And you may be wondering, well, Ralphie, what do you do with your bottles now? And what I do is I leave the cork on them. I put them in a shelf in a cool room away from direct sunlight, and I don't touch them for several years. And then one evening I get a notion to try a Johnnie Walker from the old days. And I've got two options here from what, to my palate, is one of the best expressions of the Johnnie Walker range. And I'm bringing this to your attention at this moment in time because we're heading into December 2025, which is a time when people who buy Johnnie Walker brands are actually thinking to themselves, maybe I should buy one of the single malts, seeing as it's the same price, that contributes to this blend. And just try it and even mix it with it to see how it changes the flavour. And do you know what? I think that's a really, really good idea. Go for it. Bye-bye.